Some notes and examples. The volume of a cylinder is, well, a cylinder looks like a can, if you will. So it's two circles that are parallel and congruent, same shape, right? That are then joined to form a three-dimensional shape. You can probably visualize it pretty easily. So the formula, volume is equal to pi r squared, which would be the area of the actual circle itself, times h, which would be the height. Now, r is the radius of the circles that are the base, they call it, of the shape. H is the height, which is the distance between the two bases, which are the circles. The circles are parallel to each other and are congruent, like I said. Because it's a volume, because you're going to be having the radius times itself, which is squared then, times the height, means that you're going to have cubic units, which is true for any volume. So, here are a couple of examples. You can see the radius, and then of the circle, and because the circles are identical, it would be the radius of both of them. And then h, which is the height, which is probably not the best thing, but is certainly perpendicular to those bases. It's the distance between them. Even if you turn a cylinder on its side, the height is still the separation, that is the distance between the two circles. A very important thing to remember. Surface area. Surface area is a little bit more complicated, but if you think of wrapping a can, that is like the label around a can, plus then covering the either end. The formula, you can see 2 pi r squared being the area of the circle, and because there's two of them, we double it. 2 pi rh, we'll talk about where that comes from, but that is what the formula is. So surface area whole outside of the cylinder, how much paper would take to wrap the cylinder, including the top and the bottom. So a net drawing, if you were to unfold a 3D shape, which you've done before, you end up with something called the net drawing. And if you try to then do a net drawing of a cylinder, you end up with not one but two circles. They're identical, right? Plus then, now if you unroll this dimension here, that is the, hey, that's the circumference, right, of the circle, would then become this. Now this is mislabeled. This h should not be here. H would actually be right here. It'd be the distance between the two circles. So this dimension here is that h. So then if you look at this carefully, it means that this dimension right here, the red dimension, is 2 pi r. Why? Because it's the circumference of the circle. And then if you look at this rectangle, it's 2 pi r times h, which is where this portion of the surface area formula comes from. Don't worry, you're not expected to memorize any of these formulae. Understanding where they come from can be useful though. So, volume of cylinders examples. So in this case, this 3 centimeters is indeed the radius. We can assume that based on how it's drawn. And that makes this 10 the height, which means the volume is equal to the area of the circle, pi times 3 squared in this case, times then the height, times 10. Now, rounding to the nearest tenth, that works out to 282. 282, there we go, 0.7. And please don't forget units, which would be centimeters cubed. Same idea. Here we see that this 13 would be the height. And this 8 is not. If you look at how this dashed line is drawn, we must assume that that 8 is actually the diameter, which means when we're doing the calculation, the radius is actually 4 inches. This is very important and is certainly one thing to be on the lookout for. After you've established what the radius and the height are, it's pretty easy. Pi times the radius, not the height, or not the diameter rather, squared times then the 13. Is it important to square the correct thing? You bet. You get a very, very different answer. So this would be 653.5 cubic inches, or inches cubed. Surface area. So if we take a look at our couple of examples here, this 8, just like the last one, for volume, that is the diameter, which means that the radius is equal to 4 meters. So to find the surface area, often we write SA, what we're going to do is take 2 times the area of the circles, which is pi times 4 squared, plus then the circumference of the circle, 2 pi times 4, times then the height, which makes up that rectangle that's part of the net drawing. Run the numbers and you should get right around 175. Let's clean that up. 175.9, and in this case, because it's a surface area, meters squared. Remember, square units for area, cubic units for volume. Same process, except in this case, they give us the radius directly. You refer to this. So it would be 2 times pi times 7 squared plus 2 times pi times 7, which is the circumference, times then the height, which works out to be a surface area of 659.7 square yards, or yards squared. And that's it.